Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi, freshly back from vacation.
Good morning, Dr. Ruben.
I
miss you guys too. Happy New Year. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Did you guys all have a lovely Christmas break?
I didn't have
You need to spend
Christmas
with us next year.
No.
We'll work on that. I've been telling my family that Lagos is sweet, that we have to enjoy it
Christmas
too.
Day, I was on air for close to 5 hours.
Yeah,
I saw it, but it was an excellent special. You guys did an excellent job, I have to say.
I would have rather, it would have been more excellent if I was spending with my family in the house.
It's okay. We appreciate the sacrifice. Good morning to you viewers. Happy New Year to you too. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. The story is Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro, the former president of Venezuela, and his wife, Celia Flores, are set to appear in a New York court today, Monday at noon Eastern Time. They are facing charges of narco-terrorism, cocaine trafficking, and possession of machine guns and destructive devices. Maduro's son, Nicolas Ernesto Maduro Guerra, is also included in the indictment, which you can see on your screens now. Now, the charges stem from allegations of a vast drug trafficking network, with the indictment accusing Maduro of running a corrupt, illegitimate government fueled by an extensive operation that flooded the US with thousands of tons of cocaine, with the indictment claiming that Maduro and his wife ordered kidnappings, beatings, and murders against those who owed them drug money or undermined their operation. Furthermore, it alleges that Maduro's wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in 2007 alone in order to arrange a meeting between a large-scale drug trafficker and the director of Venezuela's National Anti-Drug Office. Now, Maduro and his wife were captured in a military operation called Absolute Resolve early on Saturday in Venezuela at the Miraflores Presidential Palace. Now, it was carried out by US operations. The operation involved a raid on the presidential complex in Caracas. Explosions were heard in the vicinity of the complex during the raid as the United States forces clashed with Maduro's loyalist troops. After his capture, Maduro was transported to the United States and is currently being held at a federal jail in Brooklyn. He's being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center over in Brooklyn. Meanwhile, the implications of Maduro's capture are complex and uncertain, with the United States having long accused him of corruption and drug trafficking and not recognizing him as Venezuela's legitimate president. Now, however, the international community has reacted with caution to Maduro's capture, with some Latin American countries expressing concerns about the implications of the operation. Brazil, Argentina, Chile have issued statements calling for a peaceful resolution to the crisis, while Venezuelans, who you can see on your screen, in Spain, as well as the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, they have been expressing support for the United States, celebrating in Spain for what America has done. Now, the news may have been shocking, but it's not really a surprise, because in the months leading up to Maduro's capture, the United States had conducted a series of strikes against alleged narco-trafficking boats off the coast of Venezuela, seizing oil and disrupting the country's lucrative oil trade. Furthermore, the US government has taken a strong stance against narco-terrorism. You've got Attorney General Pombandai stating that Maduro and his wife would soon face the full wrath of American justice on American soil in American courts. Now, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio called Maduro a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million bounty over his head, while also hinting that Cuba could be the next target in the US government's efforts to combat narco-terrorism in the region. For now, Trump says that Venezuela will be run by the United States, but it's not clear what that leadership will look like. But what we can see is that the United States, yet again, is flexing its muscles as a superpower in a sovereign country and getting away with it. Let's move on. There have been widespread protests across Iran, which have intensified entering a second week amid deepening economic hardship, with soaring inflation and collapsing currency, prompting shopkeepers, students, and workers to take to the streets. Protesters have been clashing with security forces in cities including Tehran, the capital, but also Isfahan and Shiraz, with rights groups reporting multiple deaths. Now, US President Donald Trump warned that Washington is locked and loaded to intervene if Iranian authorities violently suppress peaceful demonstrators. Now, it is a rare and provocative statement that has drawn strong condemnation from Tehran. Iranian officials who have the experience of America interfering in their business, as we remember last year, they say that any foreign intervention would destabilize the region and threaten American interests, calling such threats a violation of sovereignty and international law. It begs the question, where is the love? Well, maybe we find the love in the city of love itself, in Paris, where Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu shared this image of himself meeting Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. I hope we can see the image in a moment. And the two leaders, lovely. The two leaders had a private lunch in the French capital to discuss Africa's economic future and regional cooperation and shared development goals. However, the image has sparked some controversy because online, there have been reports suggesting that the picture may have been generated using artificial intelligence. Now, the bottom right hand of the screen, hopefully you can zoom in, but just here, you can see a watermark of grok, right? Now, the presidency has yet to formally respond to questions surrounding the authenticity of the image, but officials maintain that the meeting did take place during President Tinubu's ongoing stay in Europe. Now, the picture of the leaders apparently, in part, it does show, of course, two leaders talking. You've got food on Kagame's plate. There's nothing on President Tinubu's plate. And they are seemingly in a restaurant, right? And clearly, as I pointed out, it does have this grok watermark, which is cropped out here. But what is grok, you may ask? Well, grok is an artificial intelligence tool integrated into X formerly known as Twitter, and it does allow images to be modified on the platform. The question is why? Why did the officials who released this image need to alter it with AI? And if they did, why is that even an issue? Who knows? Those are the questions to ask yourself. Before I come to you for your analysis, let's take a look at our newspaper headlines from across the globe. As ever, we begin with the front page of This Day. And This Day does leave with a series of stories. So let's take a look at this one right at the top. Sahara Group, they have endorsed the federal government's infrastructure and energy reforms, saying policy clarity, foreign exchange stability and legacy debt settlements have boosted investor confidence, with the firm confirming that it has repaid $438 million of its $600 million power sector loan and plans major gas, renewable and tech-driven expansion to strengthen electricity supply in Nigeria. This Day also reports on this story, President Tinubu condemning the recent terrorist attacks in Niger State, describing them as a test of Nigeria's resolve, and he has ordered security agencies to hunt down the perpetrators, rescue the abducted victims, and ensure they face the full weight of the law. Let's take a look at the New Telegraph this morning. But the New Telegraph, I will tell you, wonderful. We've got this nice clip up here. The New Telegraph reports that terrorists attacked communities in Agwara and Borgu local government areas of Niger State. They killed over 40 people and abducted many others, including children, barely weeks after previously rescuing pupils who were reunited with their families. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust next. The Daily Trust does report that the National Assembly has disowned controversial gazetted versions of the 4 tax laws, releasing certified true copies to affirm the original versions passed by lawmakers and assented to by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, the National Assembly said that the altered gazettes contained unauthorized changes and urged the public to rely only on the certified acts as investigations continue into how these discrepancies occurred in the first place. Well, the Daily Independent, let's take a look at the Daily Independent. It does report that aviation experts or operators, they've warned that Nigeria's new tax laws, which are set to take effect in 2026, could raise airfares sharply, strain airlines already battling high costs, and potentially undermine safety if not carefully implemented. The Daily Independent also reports that despite a strong rebound in foreign capital inflows and rising reserves in 2025, experts are actually warning that Nigeria's real challenge is converting short-term so-called hot money into sustainable long-term economic growth and investor confidence. Something to think about. Let's take a look at The Guardian. Now, The Guardian reports that Nigeria's 2026 budget faces a potential $10 billion shortfall as the Venezuela crisis and possible returns of its oil to global markets threaten crude prices. Analysts warn that oil could fall to $50 per barrel, undermining the federal government's 58.18 trillion naira spending plan, weakening FX inflows and putting fresh pressure on the naira amid existing revenue shortfalls and rising debt obligations. Very quickly, let's take a look at our UK papers. We've got the Daily Mail, which focuses on what it says is an internal row within the Labour Party about the US attack on Venezuela. The newspaper says that UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is under pressure from left-wing hardliners to criticise America's capture of President Nicolas Maduro. The Prime Minister has not yet condemned the military action, but in a statement he released, did reiterate his support for international law. The Metro says that there were bizarre scenes as the ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro arrived in America after being seized by US forces. We have seen videos of Maduro surrounded by Drug Enforcement Administration agents during that perp walk, and also pictures of him seated next to officials with his thumbs up. Finally, on the Daily Star this morning, we do have Anthony Joshua being pictured on the front of the Daily Star after a car crash, unfortunately, here in Nigeria, which injured him and killed two of his close friends. Now, the boxer has shared a photograph on social media showing him with his mother and the family members of his friends, Shinagami and Abdulateef Ayodele, with the caption, "My brother's keepers." Now, both men were buried in London over the weekend following Janazah prayers at London Central Mosque. Rest in peace to those lovely gentlemen. Well, those are your newspaper headlines and, of course, your world brief. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so I'll tie Maduro with Iran, with the protests in Iran. So pretty much what America has been trying to do since what happened to the Shah, which, you know, America, it goes back to the Second World War and the association, parts of the West and the Pahlavi dynasty. So what happened is the fact that, just like they did to Maduro, they've been trying to gain foothold back in Iran after the Ayatollahs took over. And it's been very difficult for them. And they've tried everything possible. In fact, they feel very dejected the way it was they happened then. If you remember the contract crisis, you know, the crisis around that period really affected the political career of Jimmy Carter a lot. So since then, they've been trying everything. They've tried with sanctions. They've tried to cripple Iran. So with the protests and the repression, obviously, you're having a lot more younger people, the Gen Zers in Iran, and they're challenging the status quo in Iran. America has seen it as a sweet spot. The other day, I think the eldest son of Reza Pahlavi had been trying to look at things and say, okay, maybe I can incite my people to go after the government, and hopefully if the government and the Ayatollahs fall, then we can get in there. And that's why America is definitely threatening. You know, it's just like the hegemony America tries to push everywhere. But you see, in all of this that America is doing, the hypocrisy of countries like the UK is shocking. The hypocrisy of countries like the UK and the likes of Keir Starmer. Never has anybody ever thought that there will be a day that the British Prime Minister will not be able to openly criticize something that is wrong in the world. And that's why when Laura Kustenberg did ask the question, you said clearly that Putin's invasion of Ukraine is wrong. Why can't you not condemn the same thing Trump has done? He started talking about we're not having all the figures yet and all of that. You see, only time will tell. Just like the tax bill in Nigeria too. Time will reveal all, you know. So let's keep joking. Let's keep. How many gazettes do we have now in circulation, Dr.
A
few gazettes, right? So which one do we follow? Let's keep entertaining ourselves.
The official line.
The correct one. Which is the correct one? Is it the National Assembly one or the? Okay.
Thank you.
We'll know in the coming few days.
Well,
Adefemi, welcome back. Good to see you. Very quickly, I started speaking on Maduro, Trump and Maduro, just during the newspaper at the top of the hour. But one of the things I just want to talk about is the hypocrisy of the West, especially when it comes to sovereignty, democracy, and of course, you remember George Orwell's Animal Farm book, that more animals are more equal than the other animals. We're all animals, but more animals are more equal than other animals. And I say this because the silence of world leaders, especially allies of the United States, who are quick to jump when it comes to issues around authoritarianism in countries on the African continent or in other countries, are very silent. In fact, like you mentioned, Keir Starmer only spoke about the fact that he would not shed tears on seeing Maduro gone, but he had nothing to say about America and Trump's action by invading a sovereign nation. And so earlier on I said that what this demonstrated is the immense power, that executive power that the President of the United States has. And it's only used, it comes into force depending on who sits on that seat. And in this instance, it is President Trump. He has said that, it's as a result of drug, he wants to bring justice and the likes. And then the question then would be, if this isn't contained or checked, which country would be the next? What justification would America have to invade, as we saw in Afghanistan, where they've not been able to justify or demonstrate or show us where the weapons of mass destruction are? I say it because then maybe we might be kinder, and I use that word very loosely, to some of our African countries and leaders. A lot of people criticize President Tinubu's moves in Rivers State, saying that it was an affront to democracy when a sitting elected governor was suspended and a military administrator or an administrator was put in temporarily. He did this in the interest of peace, national security. President Trump now has also come to say that he's done this in the interest of national security on the US end. What's the difference? Because both of them, if you look at it, it's just an overreach in many instances has been criticized of power. And so maybe when we look at it from the lens and criticizing African countries, we see that democracy is flawed across the world.
Absolutely.
The only thing that works is when, it's only when a leader decides. It's at the discretion or the pleasure of the leader. But democracy across all over the world is not as golden as we often tout it to be.
Okay, earlier on I spoke about Venezuela and I raised the salient points about the illegality of it under international law and even under domestic US law. President Trump acting unilaterally without recourse to Congress. It will be interesting to see what Congress will say in the days to come. It's not that the American president has immense powers. He doesn't have immense powers. He has checks and balances, and that's where Congress comes in.
Yes.
What we find under President Trump is the abuse of power. What he has done is unconstitutional. It is anti-constitutional. It is a violation of Article 51 of the UN Charter. But more importantly, the residual point to note is that, look, might is right. That's the regime that Trump is imposing on the world today. And that has implications for the authority of the United Nations Security Council and the rules-based international order. That is what it is called. Now, as for Iran, I think the more important thing about Iran that we should note is President Trump threatening again that if anything happens to the protesters in Iran, he is going to get involved in the matter. Now, consistently, Israel and the United States, they've been trying to break down what is called the axis of resistance that is led by Iran. Either it is the Hezbollah in Lebanon, or Hamas in Gaza, or the forces in Syria, and
the Houthis in Yemen.
The Houthi rebels in Yemen. Yeah, and now Iran himself has put himself in the eye of the storm. So we may see an escalation because already 19 people have been killed, 990 persons have been arrested. Ayatollah Khamenei is saying that, look, we should put down the protesters. He's saying a different thing from President Pezeshkian, who is saying, we will negotiate with the people. But the issue is basically that in September, the United Nations reimposed sanctions on Iran related to nuclear warfare and uranium enrichment by Iran. In June, there was that coordinated attack, 12-day war. Israel attacking Iran, and then the U.S. also supporting. And all of that has put Iran on the wrong hand. Inflation is very high. The dollar, the real, which is the currency, is now 1.4 million to $1. And the people are suffering. So the people are rebelling and they are calling for change.
Yes.
And America is saying these are courageous people. If anything happens to them, we will come to their rescue. It's all part of, this might is right, this abuse of power and privilege by the United States and its allies. Thank you very much, Adefemi.